Alright, so anyone that plays Yu-Gi-Oh! Or collects Yu-Gi-Oh! Knows that there's a big collector's market for the game. Not at the level of Pokemon or Magic, but there's a ton of high-value cards like Starlight Rares, Ghost Rares, and so on and so forth. Old tournament pack foils and graded cards that people want to chase down. But one thing you may not know too much about is the misprint market for Yu-Gi-Oh! Misprint cards are defined as cards that are basically not the way they're supposed to look coming out of the pack, whether that's missing a name, having shifted foils, having extra long borders. Misprints vary, and so do their prices. There are a lot of people who collect all kinds of Yu-Gi-Oh! Misprints, and some people pay big money for cards that have significant errors or things that really make them one of a kind. So in my browsing, I came across quite a few, a lot more than I thought actually, misprints, and actually asked some of the misprint collectors and people who have some unique misprints to send them to me so I could put them into a video. I got lots of them, not enough to fit in one video, that's for sure. So we're going to do maybe a mini-series on this, starting out today with our first batch of Yu-Gi-Oh! Misprints. We're going to go ahead and take a look at some of the cooler misprints that were sent in, and if you're interested in seeing more, what I will do is put a link in the description below to the Instagram channels for the creators who actually were kind enough to provide me with some of the pictures for these misprints. Some of them I found in other places, and I don't want to put names for the people that I found it from that don't have, like, an Instagram, because I don't know if they want their information public, but just for the purpose of clarity, I do not own any of these misprints personally. I just thought it'd be cool to share them with you guys. So that said, let's jump into the video. Starting off with one of the coolest misprints that I saw. This is an Ultimate Rare Elemental Hero Flame Wingman. Now, there's a few things you might notice about this. First of all, obviously, is that the name is shifted halfway down the card to the point where it's between the border and the level stars. Also, though, there's no Eye of Anubis stamp in the bottom right-hand corner. Now, I'm not sure whether or not this is one of the UDE counterfeit cards. For those of you unfamiliar, when Upper Deck was no longer making Yu-Gi-Oh! And Konami took it over, there was a brief period in between where Upper Deck continued to print some cards. Those cards are not considered legitimate cards by Konami, but for all intents and purposes, they are real physical cards, and people who aren't even aware of that may not even be able to tell the difference. Flame Wingman is one of them, as well as Aqua Neos and a lot of others, but there are a few of the more noteworthy ones. Whether this is a UDE card or not, however, it's still an insanely rare misprint for, one, missing the Eye of Anubis stamp, and two, the fact that it's an ultimate rare that would have decent value on its own, roughly $300 to $400, give or take, for a first ed near mint English. This one's pretty played, but look at the name and look at the missing stamp. That's two misprints on one card. I don't know what the value of this card would be currently, but I have seen that the gentleman who owns it has gotten offers as high as $350, and it was still auctioned, as far as I know, at the time I made this video. This is one that's kind of cool, but a little hard to tell. This was a secret rare Stardust dragon that actually has an outline of Gorz, the Emissary of Darkness, in the background. It may be a little tricky to tell, and maybe you can see it a little better than me, but you can definitely tell that there's something off with the foiling patterns and the way that it's supposed to look. Maybe under better lighting would stand out a little bit more. One of the reasons I didn't heavily feature this one is because it is a little hard to tell, but if you take a look at it, you can see the differences, and it is a cool piece. This one is one of the more common misprints we've seen recently. This Appaloosa is from Maximum Gold, a set that had a ton of printing errors, where there were cards with giant borders, there were cards with shifted frames, names moved around. Some people, I've even seen on Amazon reviews and stuff, have opened Maximum Gold and been upset at their misprints and been like, oh, my cards are all messed up, and I'm like, there's a lot of money here on some of these, so you really should look. If you have cards like this, understand there is a market for them, but also be aware that, they're not all going to be worth a ton of money. It's really only worth what a collector is willing to pay for it, so just something to keep in mind. But it's cool. This border is pretty big. This is relatively tame in comparison to some of the other Maximum Gold misprints that I do have, and we'll get to shortly. This one is Double Evolution Pill from Battles of Legend, Light Your Revenge. The name is not only shifted, but the name is also basically just the outline or imprinted. Fun fact I've learned from some of the misprint collectors is that a card name being imprinted is actually easy to fake. So just be aware if you're buying a misprint card or picking up a misprint card that if the name is in the place it's supposed to be and it's just completely cleared out or whited out, there are ways for people to do that, and you want to make sure that the cards you're paying that extra money for, if it's something you're collecting, are legitimate and not just a quote-unquote nameless card that somebody used acetone or whatever to fake. However, on this one, you can obviously tell that that is not the case. The name is shifted to the point where it's completely out of the box, so even if the name was cleared out for whatever reason, this is still a really valuable misprint. Alright, this one's really cool, obviously pretty played, but this is a Spellbinding Circle from Dark Beginning 1 with the name Emergency Provisions. So, I haven't seen too many cards like this in terms of misprints that are just completely out of left field like that. The name is clearly means there's a spellbinding circle probably printed on another card that it wasn't supposed to be on. But this is just a really cool find, and one of those like unique, what may be one of a kind, or at least one of a few. I have never seen any other ones, but I don't know if the person who owns this was able to, you know, come across more or what else their sets contain. But this is just an example of a name swap misprint where it's clearly not emergency provisions, but that's what it's called. And as a result, cards like this will have a ton of value because of their uniqueness. This one is Galaxy Soldier. Now, for those of you unfamiliar, Battles of Legend Light's Revenge was a primarily ultra-rare set, and it had a secret rare in each slot. This Galaxy Soldier, however, has the prismatic foiling from World Superstars, which was a set that came out prior to this, and actually had a prismatic secret rare Galaxy Soldier in it. Obviously doesn't have the World Superstars set ID, and I'm not sure exactly what happened with the foil translations, but as you can imagine, this is a really, really rare card, because it's got the image and foiling of one printing of Galaxy Soldier, and everything else is the Battles of Legend printing, which is not the same one. This one is neat. Performapal Odd Eyes Synchron, or Performapal Odd Eyes Synchron, if you're looking just at this misprint. Really cool name shifted, partial cutoff. Anytime you got a name like that that's moved to the point of being completely out of the box, typically it will command neat value. You really, like I said, just kind of have to shop it around, and if you're looking for something like this, it's hard to gauge what it would be worth. I can imagine that not only would it have some value, but the playability or collectability of the card as well would likely influence this. What I mean by that is if you have a first ed ultimate rare of a really valuable card, a really solid card or a good card that might actually be used, and you have it misprinted, it's going to be worth more than a, you know, first edition of a super rare that's relatively recent and doesn't see much play. Doesn't mean your super's not going to have value, it just depends on what kind of sets people are looking to collect. One of the most interesting misprints that I saw, I've done that a few times, I'm sorry, Pikaru's Circle of Enchantment. This was posted by a gentleman on Instagram, and I will post links to the description below for those Instagram channels. You guys can check them out. Just the whole picture looks like it's a hybrid of Ghost and Ultimate Rare, and I'm not really sure what was going on there, because we didn't have Ghost Rares at the time, so it definitely wasn't that. But if you look at it, you can clearly see it doesn't look the way it's supposed to. So you can't see Pikaru's Circle of Enchantment at all, and the border on it is larger than normal as well. So this is a really unique one. I've never seen an Ultimate Rare like this before. I don't know what would have caused it, but it's one of a kind as far as I've seen. Alright, this is all from the Advent Calendar set from back in the day. I think this would have been 2011, but I'm not sure when. Maybe 2011, 2012. German Advent Calendar. All the Signer Dragons with name shifts. This is a super cool pickup. Now, I don't know if the person that has these got them all at once or slowly over time picked them up, but imagine opening the Advent Calendar, just all of your foils are misprinted. Like, all of your foils are just completely shifted. That would not only be like a really cool pull and something like you'd remember, but also just a really insane value find, because look at this. Like, you have 8 cards right here that are all part of the same set that just have a really awesome name shifting and stand out as misprints. This one is a double, or like double layered ultimate rare, if you will. You can kind of tell that like it looks like it might have gotten stamped twice. Towards the top of the frame, you can see parts of the ultimate rare border sort of sticking out, but if you look underneath it, you can see that the border is already there. So on this type of card, it looks like they probably stamped it, and then for whatever reason, it got stamped a second time, and that's why you'll see the overlays of the attribute as well as the bottom frame of the card. No idea what this card is worth. I would imagine a pretty substantial amount, considering it's Shien, which is a iconic card that has a lot of name value in Yu-Gi-Oh history. And on top of that, it just looks freaking awesome. Like, how often do you see double ultimate stamps like that? This one, Performapal 5 Rainbow Magician, was an ultra rare, and the interesting part about this card, it did come out in Battles of Legend Light's Revenge. There were many cards in Battles of Legend Light's Revenge that were ultra rare, which is primarily how the set was structured, 4 ultras and 1 secret, that had error prismatic foiling. So there's this one, there's Odd Eyes Lancer Dragon, and, nope, I went too far, sorry, so I only had these 2 pictures I could find. Odd Eyes Lancer Dragon and Performapal 5 Rainbow Magician. There are a few more. I know Giant Rex is one as well. In other words, these are ultras, but they have prismatic foiling in a set that didn't have prismatic foiling, and they weren't supposed to be that anyway. So these are really, really cool collector cards that are probably up there in terms of misprint values and in terms of like hot commodity cards within the misprint community. I do not know how many ultras from this set actually got this prismatic secret rarity, and it's possible that there could be some that haven't even been discovered yet if there's packs that haven't been opened. But imagine that, like, that's just a really, really cool, this card is useless on its own, but when you pull it with that foiling, it suddenly becomes a really good value. This one is an Ultimate Rare Moondragon Quia, which is just awesome. The name is halfway down the card in the middle. You can barely see it with the Ultimate Foiling. Just a really, really unique misprint. It looks awesome. One of the ones I would say, like, definitely if I owned, I'd probably hold on to for a long time. But with a misprint like this, you could get seriously high-value offers, and you might have to consider whether or not people are going to be interested in that. But seriously, look at how cool that card looks. Some Goki cards. There's a few examples of these I've seen going around. Code of the Duelist from Germany, where it looks like a lot of the rares from the first edition boxes are, like, having their names shifted down. Definitely really neat, and to have, like, play sets, if you will, of them, or at least multiples, is just really cool, especially if you're a collector of these types of things. Supreme King Dragon Darkworm, this is just a name shift, but it's a cool card in general, and this just looks awesome. Like, the name's almost out of the card, and these types of shifts typically will, again, vary depending on the card itself and among the collector's interest in it, but this is a really neat one. This one was submitted to me, Black Rose Dragon German from Dual Devastator. The name is completely whited out. You can tell looking at it that, again, the imprint is barely there. You can see it lightly, but I'm convinced looking at it that it's not, like, acetoned or anything. I think it's legit. It's obviously not the highest value card, but it's really cool. And if you're a collector of this kind of stuff, the value doesn't really matter so much as it does, like, you actually getting something that's a cool piece for your collection. Interdimensional Matter Transporter. This is a double name stamp. This is less common than some other misprints, but, you know, I've seen a decent amount of them. Just really cool to have in general, and again, if you're a collector, depending on the card, these can fetch really high values. Here's one from Labyrinth of Nightmare German. It's Spirit Message N, obviously in the German name, but it's got Magic Cylinder on it. Now, what's interesting about this, I don't think Magic Cylinder's name in German is Magic Cylinder, so it's got the English name for Magic Cylinder printed on the German card with the secret rare foiling, which is just awesome. Like, that's just such a unique misprint, and I had to look at it a few times to be like, what, like, how does this even happen? And Magic Cylinder, I do believe, was in Labyrinth of Nightmare, so obviously it's not like it's a card from outside the set, but how does this happen? How does the English name get on there? What's the process there? I don't know, but it's a cool misprint for sure. My favorite one in this, by far, is Ultimate Rare Elemental Hero Wild Wingman. This is cool because it has Life Equalizer as the name, which is a trap from the same set. The picture almost looks shaded, like you can kind of see other stuff going on in the background as well. I'm not sure how much of that is Wild Wingman's, like, card design and how much of that is actually that, but you can see the difference in the level stars. You can see the fact that the name is something totally different. Again, another card that I don't even know what the owner would be getting for it or if they'd even be wanting to move it, but I thought this was a really cool one to showcase. Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. This is one of the ones from Maximum Gold I was talking about that are more significant. The frame is shifted. You've got the outline there. You've got the wildly gold borders. This is super cool, and these are definitely, like, some of the more recent misprints that you could still potentially find if you open Maximum Gold. But again, I'm assuming it's going to be more focused to specific cases, and depending on where the printing errors occurred, if you find things like this, it's definitely worth either holding on to or trying to see if people are interested. Droll and Lockbird, this one's super cool too. It's a double stamp, and you can see that almost 3D effect on it. Just another one that's overlaid and looks insanely cool. This is just insane too. I've said that like 4 times, but look at these. These are all ultis. The ulti frame is shifted halfway down the card. The level stars are down the card. Again, just an awesome, awesome display of misprints. And then, of course, to finish it off, we've got Egyptian God cards here from Legendary Collection. These have the names of other Egyptian gods. It looks like 2 of them have Winged Dragon and Ra. 1 has Slifer the Sky Dragon. On the bottom of the card, it's just a really cool, like, again, it's a unique one because I haven't seen too many where the misprint is on the bottom part of the card, and it looks like that might have been something in the printing process, obviously, that would have thrown that off, but these are awesome. And so overall, yeah, I missed the Luster Dragon too, so I'll just give that a quick shout out as well. Just a foil shifted frame, but it's still really neat, especially when you consider the fact that, like, it's harder and harder to find these cards nowadays, and to find one that's in misprint and you might have the only one is really cool too. So that's going to do it for this video. If you guys did enjoy taking a look at some of these other misprints and stuff, show some love to the individuals who I posted the links for down in the description below. I apologize for anyone whose images I used that I was not able to credit simply because I found them on Facebook and other places and I don't want to give out people's personal information. However, I would happily credit you. If you have an Instagram or a Twitter you want me to plug, just drop a comment down below and I will add it to the video description. If you guys want to see more misprint videos, definitely let me know, and I will see what we can do. If you did enjoy the video, please hit the like button and subscribe for more, and I'll see you next time.